let's go ahead and read the physics of consciousness. We left off at the overall motion generates energy. Energy is motion in its foundation, the fantastic speed of the divine particle while shaping overall existence generates with its motion the energy for the existence of everything. Since everything comes into existence momentarily through the manifestation of the divine particle, everything we see as energy manifests in the same manner as well. Momentariness is the foundation of the wave. The wave is motion, and motion is energy. The meaning of the word energy is derived from the Greek word for being in motion. Nothing in the cosmos is identical, and everything is in motion. This brings us to the paradox of reality that the cosmos itself is manifested as energy because nothing is substantial, everything is momentary. Everything can move because it is momentary and unsubstantial. If anything were substantial and objects were real by themselves, the overall motion and the energy to see it through would not be possible. The cosmos represents overall motion because the cosmos is a manifestation of energy. Everything is energy in its foundation generated by the momentary vibration of the divine particle, which is nothing but the concrete manifestation of the very divine absolute. This makes the quantum field or ether the source of overall energy in nature. In other words, energy as the initial requirement for the production of motion. Motion is not needed. Quite the reverse. Motion itself, an infinitely fast vibration of the divine particle, which is the foundation of everything, generates energy for all the remaining processes. The Greek notion energia we use as the word for energy today. Therefore, its original meaning sees energy as every kind of motion in existence and being. Subsequently, motion itself is energy. Since everything is moving, it is all visible to us as energy. However, the materialistic view accepted by academics of the highest accreditation have dimmed our perspective of the world and distorted the original meaning of the word energy itself as the source of everything. We are more inclined nowadays to see everything as dead matter, whereas energy in modern times we translate as the product of combustion or electrical energy. Only quantum physics and mysticism remind us that matter as such does not exist, only energy. We merely give a more detailed description here of why that is so. Furthering such information, energy is only a different aspect of consciousness, and together they constitute life energy. This is recognized as the divine love that enables everything in human experience. The experience of unconditional love that enables everything is an emotional experience that happens when the human becomes aware of omnipresent divine energy as life energy. It is quite the same whether we choose to define the quantum field as a universal that enables all living energy and follows a conscious intent, or if we say that divine unconditioned love facilitates everything that is. It is the consciousness that enables us to become aware of ourselves in the world, and it is in reality is divine love. To say that the absolute overall existence is unconditional love rings even more true, but for the human who has not yet emerged consciousness with the energetic aspect of existence, it is too early to understand, except that it sounds nice and ideal. They cannot recognize and accept as highest truth that everything they see, experience, and do, everything that happens to them is only the unconditional divine love that always happens, and nothing at all is possible without it or outside of it. Individual consciousness and energy functioning are still separate in an unenlightened human who is unable to fathom the unity of existence and unconditional love at any given moment. The experience of love in a human is partial and occasional and connected with certain objects and contents. They can experience some of it only if they are inspired by favorable circumstances. It was said that a long time ago that self-knowledge is neither worthy nor possible without love. Consciousness without love cannot be objective. Consciousness, the awareness of reality, because love is the ability to connect two things regardless of the available information and evidence which are seemingly fragmentary love binds everything, much like life energy does. Their unity invites our tendency towards love, both consciously and unconditionally, in all ways possible, all our lives. This same point is the reason for human destructiveness induced by the lack of experience in love, at least in the case of early childhood. Therefore, love is the measure of all things in this world because it is in the background of life energy and consciousness as their link and foundation. Life energy is the connection between consciousness and energy, and in our experience, we feel their connection as love. This is further expressed as an erotic episode, as the act of love creating a new life, new forms of life energy. All beings are conceived in the source, in the ether, and for this reason, the separate sexes must merge into one and briefly, even for an instant, remind themselves of their true state and conscious intention for a new being to be born. Therefore, raising awareness of energy brings consciousness of the omnipresent divine love. Those three things, energy, consciousness, and love, are one thing. Only a mind attributes differences to them. Their unity is known to us only when the mind stops in blessed ecstasy, regardless of the way it was achieved, either in orgasm or meditation. It is the same experience, with the difference that orgasms are spontaneous and short lived, while meditations are cultivated and permanent. It will become clearer to us the way consciousness determines energy. If we realize that consciousness has several different states, there is the very faint consciousness that is limited by the sensory perception animals have, which is in some people as well. Such a such a consciousness engage energy toward limited goals only, usually for the survival of the body. The lower the level of consciousness, the more destructive the implementation of such energy tends to be. There is a biofeedback effect to this. An insight into destruction helps consciousness to grow stronger. Consciousness is strengthened by discovering proper and constructive ways of functioning. Higher states of consciousness engage energy toward the achievement of higher goals. No idea can be realized without energy, and consequently, no energy can be engaged without a goal or an idea. If the conscious goal is missing, the energy then stagnates and disintegrates, changes its shape, and goes toward alternative sources where it can be utilized. Energy can be taken over and even stolen. This is always done by the person who is aware of energy, while the person who does not have this awareness loses energy. Let's move on to the next chapter, called Consciousness in the Human Body. We cannot understand the nature of consciousness without understanding it in ourselves first. Although the human always utilizes consciousness that makes them human, unlike other species, the nature of consciousness in the human is the subject with the biggest misconceptions, even conspiracies. Science treats consciousness as some material emergence, as perception induced by the functioning of neurons and being utterly dependent on them as a product of brain functioning and manipulation of information. Religion projects the nature of consciousness into the divine spheres and mystifies its origin and impact, whereas most religions do not contemplate the nature of consciousness itself, but are completely based on the contents of consciousness, on convictions and beliefs, as though the real task of religion is for the issue of the true nature of consciousness to be sidetracked. The notion of the soul most accurately defines the nature of consciousness, and this is the reason this notion has always been mystified to the utmost by clergy and discarded by the world of science. It is not possible to understand the notion of consciousness without a proper understanding of the notion of the soul. They are completely connected and interdependent. Together, they directly refer to human authenticity, complete realization, and freedom. Are the majority of people in this world in the manner described? No, they are not, because a fully realized and liberated human is of no use to either the church or other political institutions. Together, they have done everything in their power to eliminate the notion of consciousness of the soul in both formal education and science, as well as in religion. In order to understand properly the true nature of consciousness, it is necessary to understand the nature of the human soul and the human's relationship to it. To clarify the issue, we will use this image. And here's the illustration. consciousness of the soul, higher mind, physical, or empirical mind. The structure of human consciousness of the soul. Okay, so we have already established that consciousness and existence are the same. They only appear to us as different as existence and the awareness of existence. It can also be said that the divine absolute manifests itself dually as existence itself outward and the awareness of existence which is within the human. Consciousness of the divine absolute, which the absolute uses to manifest itself as overall existence, is consciousness of the soul. From its highest realm, it projects itself from the absolute as a monad of consciousness that creates the biggest objects throughout the entire cosmos, including stars and planets. Monads of consciousness progressively divide themselves into smaller branches until the point the finest individual branches remain in existence, which are our souls in our physical bodies. Therefore, our soul is the ultimate branch of the divine consciousness of the absolute that enables everything. Our consciousness also facilitates all the consciousness we have and use in our everyday lives. By all means, the consciousness we have in our body is but a fraction of the original consciousness that enables overall nature into existence. In our body, consciousness divides itself into the lowest and most limited part, the one that operates using the brain and the body, and it is called the empirical physical mind or ego. This consciousness is limited by the physical body and the senses. It has awareness of the body only in that which can be perceived by the senses. Above the physical is the higher mind. It is independent of the body and sensory perception, which automatically means it can be far more independently sense, space, and time. This higher mind is the connection of the physical mind in the body with consciousness of the soul, which is about the higher mind. Consciousness of the soul is so big and powerful that it cannot fit into a body. We cannot have a direct link from the body with consciousness of the soul. We must have something mediator, which is the higher mind. The science of psychology deals with the physical mind only. It does not take into account anything else. The functioning of the higher mind psychology proclaims irrational and even psychotic, and consciousness of the soul is altogether rejected. It can be said that all the mechanisms for functioning of consciousness within the physical mind and its link to the energies of the body are well explained with Freudian psychology, while the functioning of consciousness between the physical mind and the higher mind and consciousness of the soul is partially explained by K.G. Jung's psychology. The functioning of the physical mind can easily be interpreted because it has joint principles of psychodynamics and psychopathology, much like all people who have bodies, and all bodies function identically. Merging the individual mind with the higher mind or consciousness of the soul is a personal experience and therefore falls under the category of objective reality. It cannot be proved to be the functioning of the physical mind. It still has some common patterns that are wrongly given the name of archetypes of the collective consciousness. A more accurate term would be the archetypes of the collective consciousness. That process is always individual, and for this reason, Jung always described it as the process of individuation. Since the process connecting of since the process of connecting the physical mind to consciousness of the soul is individual, it is scientifically difficult to prove. The notion of soul psychology is associated with a vague combination of emotions, life energy, and imagination. Everything that exceeds the functioning of the physical mind is called altered states of consciousness. At best, and only a small number of researchers associate such states with the mystical states of spiritual practitioners and mystics. Experiences that cannot be classified or labeled as being psychotic. However, since the higher mind and consciousness of the soul influence all people on a daily basis and everyone experiences their effects, psychology took all of them under its wing and started a new practice with the name transpersonal psychology. It too does not offer any conclusion about higher consciousness and consciousness of the soul. There is only ongoing research and speculation. All functioning of the higher mind and consciousness of the soul that cannot be suppressed or explained through transpersonal psychology gets suppressed and explained through religious convictions. Both science and religion conceal the truth of the human soul. Science materializes it, while religion takes it away from the human because, according to religious beliefs, the human is granted a soul from some higher force and stands a good chance of losing it if they prove to be a lesser believer. Nowhere is the soul revealed as the essence of the human, which is the essence of the divine at the same time as the source of consciousness, where consciousness is the source of existence itself. All other interpretations then become redundant. There is some justification for science, for it requires solid evidence, precise research methods, and development, although science uses all of this, all of these in only one dimension, the physical world. There is no justification for religions, though, because part of their job is to disclose the higher dimensions, not to hide them. There is not a multitude of consciousness. There is only one consciousness of the Absolute that expresses itself in the form of overall existence as all the cosmos and life. It merely splits itself into verges, into all possible individual forms, into all living conscious beings. We are one of these. Via our soul, we are connected to all beings and the whole of existence. This is all the truth there is to be known about the human soul and the nature of human consciousness. So next time, look forward to consciousness outside the body and the role of the brain. All right, see you later, alligator. In a while, crocodile.